Daily updates in the unraveling science around the pandemic have become a part of our daily lives. New action plans, social and hygiene behaviors, and crucial information about vaccination are a major part of every form of news piece or social media platforms. Communicators are putting their best efforts to reach out wide and far, with a lot of information utilizing visual elements like pictures, videos, and graphs. Important information might not be accessible to people with visual impairments. What are the solutions? Let's meet Calvina De Silva, who is a special educator for people with visual impairments, and hear what advice she has to address accessibility in digital communication and how the pandemic has affected her work. Hello, Calvina.
Hi, Sonal.
It is lovely to have you for this discussion. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
I am so eager to learn from you today. Um, Tell us a little about yourself. What does your work involve?
I have a background in special education for the visually impaired. So I am a special educator by qualification, and that's actually how I joined the XRCVC, which is the Xavier's Resource Center for the Visually Challenged. Basic special educator job would be training students in visual impairment with respect to multiple special skills, also known as plus curriculum skills, like how you have your regular curricular and extracurricular activities. You also have plus curriculum skills, which basically involve equipping the students to be able to do their regular work like their sighted peers. Okay, so people who can see are referred to the sighted. So if I want to read and write my schoolwork, or even in the library, or any entertainment books and stories and things like that, I need to have a method of reading because my eyes don't work. So it's not like I don't understand, I just need to have a method. And the most famous one in the world, of course, is Braille. So while we used to work on, in fact, we still do work on training students in Braille, we focus on the younger ones learning Braille because as you get older, there's a lot more information and books and materials that you need to work with. So Braille actually becomes little bulky. We recommend that students, even with visual impairments, whether low vision or totally blind, they move on to working with computers right from, you could say, middle school. So like sixth, seventh standard, we expect them to move on to computers, and we've also been training our students in this. So by the time they reach their eighth standard, they are able to use the computer entirely for all their subjects, whether it's English or Hindi, Marathi, maths. They learn to do all this. So we are actually involved in training our students and our XRCVC members in multiple skills. Some of them are Braille, Nemeth Braille, especially when they are young. Nemeth Braille is specifically Braille meant for maths. Then we have orientation and mobility, which becomes a huge life skill because from the time they are young, maybe right at the beginning, people don't really send out their regular, let's say, non disabled children out. But once the children start growing, you expect them to go down, to the shop to get you some bread or milk or some basic things. And just because a person is visually impaired, they don't get sent out, and they miss a lot of opportunities and experiences because of this. So orientation and mobility, activities of daily living. So there are lots of skills that we cover at the XRCVC. I was specifically not involved in the maths and science skills because we had another expert for that. But yes, I have been involved in many of these other skills. Now, unfortunately, I know this today's discussion is about the pandemic, and unfortunately, since the pandemic, I have been missing and I have not had the chance to work with people because this is a physical skill. This is not something that I could teach online, because it's not just theory. You need to see the student practicing, you need to be able to work with the students. So orientation and mobility and my activities of dealing trainings, have really suffered during this pandemic. But yes, as a center, we do a lot of other trainings online.
I am glad online resources can cover the training at some level. Also, I didn't know previously about Nemeth Braille. Thanks for sharing about that.
Thank you.
So, you said your work suffered during the pandemic because you could not meet people in person. The way of communicating really changed in the last 1 year. If we talk about the journalism or science and health communication during the pandemic being accessible to people with visual impairments, where do the challenges lie?
Right. When it comes to regular communication, I think it would be better if I give a background in terms of how people with visual impairments would otherwise get their information. So, of
Right.
course, you have the news on TV, which people talk, so it's audible, and in a person sitting at the TV can easily understand whatever is going on, because everything that is shown on screen is also being read out by the news anchor. So TVs continue to be accessible, that's fine. The radio, news, etc., that's also perfectly fine. When it comes down to using the computers, as I said, we teach the students right from high school level. So they are able to access even websites, so news websites or online newspapers like the Times of India, etc. A lot of websites and apps available may not necessarily be accessible, in the sense that when the app or the website is built, if there is no thought gone into the accessibility uh, of the back end. For instance, I can have my text, and as a user of accessible technologies such as a screen reader, which reads out everything that's on the computer screen or the mobile screen, that's one of the softwares which is basically used on a daily basis. And that can read out all the text on a website or on an app. But if you have things like buttons, so if I have a play button of a video, and if that button is not accessible, if it just reads out as button, the screen reader will not be able to tell me anything other than button, and a button by itself makes no sense to me. I don't know if it's meant to be a play button, is it an edit button, is it a radio button for me to select something. I don't know if it is not made accessible from the back end. But there are other ways to make things accessible even on social media, which considering platforms like for instance, Instagram, Facebook, a lot of people are now into social media, like even news. A lot of news is shared on social media, Twitter, etc. Now, Twitter is a very clean and straightforward text mode.
Yeah.
It's not known so much for visuals, so that's great, and that is very easily accessible. And I know, and I'm able to move from, let's say, a tweet button to a retweet button or share, or all these
Right.
buttons are easily read out. So Twitter is a good example of something that's clean and accessible.
Apart from the visual elements you mentioned, what other challenges do you feel we need to address?
Yeah, so actually I haven't gone into visuals, because Instagram, like I said, Twitter is text, but all your tweets are text, and you could add an image, etc., or a GIF and things like that.
Mhm.
But those images and GIFs are you are able to make them accessible, and I'll just come to that in a minute. But Instagram, for instance, like even Facebook, allows you to just put up a post which is a plain text post. You cannot put up a post on Instagram unless you have an image or a video or a reel or something that is visual. So unfortunately, a lot of people who put up their information on Instagram, and because they get like millions of followers and things like that, if they want to increase their follower base, this is a very straightforward thing. Like automatically, if your platform is made accessible, if your information is made accessible, you are also going to get the whole population of visually impaired people to follow you, right? So you are going to increase your follower base. It makes business sense for you to make your things accessible.
Right.
So yeah, so Instagram also, along with Facebook and Twitter, they allow you to add what is known as alt text. So this is a technical term basically for basic image description. And now image description, some people who do it kind of tend to confuse it with explanation. Okay, so you don't have to explain something to a visually impaired person because they can
Okay.
understand what they are reading. So suppose I put up an image with just text saying perhaps the logo of XRCVC. Suppose I'm starting a new account. I'm just giving an example. Suppose I'm starting a new account. XRCVC doesn't already have an account on Instagram, and I just want to introduce XRCVC to the world. I'll just probably put up my logo and then say, coming soon. And that's on my visual, and I don't have a caption. Now, because I don't have a caption, I don't know what the image is. Okay. I'm just saying as an
Okay.
example. There are many people who put a caption and who put hashtags and all that. That's all readable. But if I want my image also to be readable, there is an option where you have generally you see three dots that gives you more options. That is quite common across platforms. Actually, you see it in many social media pages, you see it on websites. Generally, whenever you see three dots, you click on it and it gives you multiple options. So there you have the option in advanced settings to write alt text. So that's ALT TEXT. Okay, so in write alt text, when you click on it, you can go and actually write what you want to tell. Okay, so now what you want to tell has to be what is in the image, because if it was something else, then you would have put another image. So in order to know, a lot of people are confused what to write. Like I said, some of them go and explain things. So if you close your eyes and what you don't see versus when you open your eyes and you see, that is what your image description should be, not what you understand about it. So if my image actually says just the XRCVC logo, it and the name of the XRCVC in full below it, I will not say that my image description should actually be the XRCVC logo, and perhaps then I can describe how the logo looks. Okay, like the shape of an eye with XRCVC written inside it, uh, and below that the following text colon Xavier's Resource Center for the Visually Challenged. Okay, that's what my image description would be. It's as simple as that.
Okay,
Okay.
so for example, if I'm posting a picture of like me and let's say another friend of me having dinner in a
Right,
restaurant, so the
right.
description could be two
So
people
it depends.
sitting.
Yeah,
Okay,
continue.
so it could be like two people sitting having food, one person is wearing this, the other person is wearing this, so we can be as descriptive as we want, right? Basically we want
Yeah,
to tell
amount
what
of
is happening there,
description.
right?
So that's a good point. The amount of description finally depends on you, what you think is important for that particular post. Now, if you want to show off your clothes, you will even describe your clothes, right? Because a person
Yeah.
who is seeing it with their eyes, some of them notice your clothes, some of them don't notice your clothes. But if perhaps you are pointing to a bag, then definitely people who are looking at it with their eyes will definitely look at the bag, right? So that's something you definitely want to describe also, how the bag looks perhaps. Or if you're at a restaurant and you're actually clicked a close up of your plate, so
Plate,
everybody is
yeah.
going to notice what's on your plate, because nowadays everybody's clicking photos of their
Of
food.
the
So
food, yeah.
yeah, so you also probably click the photo when you're really impressed with the presentation, or you're probably eating something for the first time. But again, don't if you really want to, you could get into the details of the color and things like that. So don't ignore color and direction and positioning just because you think, okay, they are visually impaired, what will they imagine of color? So don't ignore these details. Whatever you would
Mhm.
want followers to know about, that's something you should be describing too. And your example was very great. So there's nothing explaining that, what a girl is, right? Obviously. So you don't need to get
Right.
into the
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in fact, last week I had a session on social media accessibility, and some of the participants were trying out examples. And one of them said, there is information about so and so program to be held in the coming future, whereas the actual image had the date, had the program name, had the venue. So then don't say it is about something. Just say what it is. Say the name of the program, like, social media accessibility workshop, the exact words. So whenever your image has text in it, just say the text. It's as simple as that. You don't have to think what to say about it. Now, videos and reels and these things may not be accessible because they don't really allow you to add all text. You could do the description in perhaps the caption itself, like how we put our hashtags and things in the caption. At the end, you could have, video description colon, and then describe the flow of events, perhaps. Another thing, especially on Instagram, stories are not accessible. So
Mm-hmm.
the whole point of stories actually is you upload something, and then if you share your post as a story, so then that story kind of pops up on my screen, and it becomes like an alert, like, okay, Sonal has put something new, let me go to her profile and check. So then your post is anyway accessible because you've added all text, right? So
Right.
then I'm not missing information that you put up as your story, because your story is only going to say, oh, new post, or check out our new post, something like that. So if there is any other information that you're sharing in your story, like some forward or somebody else's post, for instance, you might be sharing on your story, because Instagram doesn't allow you to share the way, you can retweet on Twitter, you can share on Facebook, and it remains on your profile. But Instagram only allows you to share as a story. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something that the audience would be missing if it's something that's not on your profile. So another option there could also be repost, right? Now everybody's reposting as well. Or
Okay.
if you have a Facebook page, you could share that particular information that you want to share on your Facebook page. So somebody who's following you on Instagram and Facebook, at least they get that information on Facebook.
Hmm. What about longer films, videos on YouTube or OTT platforms?
Now, there are things like veed.io. Okay, this is a website, video if you pronounce it, but it's veed.io. So this website actually allows you, it allows tools to create audio description. Okay, to
Okay.
make each and every audio visual of yours accessible. Now, what would your audio visual uh, include? So if it is simple dialogue, like imagine a regular movie. Uh, First of all, you need to consider, do the blind and visually impaired people enjoy movies? Of course they do, because movies are not just visuals, right? There's so much of sound effects, dialogues and things like that, banging the door, knocking on the door, things like that. So all this is easily accessible because it's sound. But what they are missing is, now think about silent movies. Basically, there are many movies even nowadays, movies, series, any kind of audio visuals, where there might be things happening which are important to the storyline, which are happening during, let's say, a background score, and there's no narration. So imagine a narration. That's what audio description should be like. But a narration is also telling you, like, back in the day, so and so thing happened and all that. An audio description is very literally what is shown on the screen, not something to imagine. Similar
So,
to
like,
alter.
in thriller movies, we see that there's this music going on and somebody is,
Right.
slowly walking,
Opening door,
so
and
the audio description
the
would be
doorknob
same.
is shaking. Yeah, so exactly what you see. So basically, I call audio description the alt text of videos.
Oh, yes, it is. Well, those are some useful tips and tools that We should definitely follow and move towards an accessible future in the field of digital communication. Thanks a lot for sharing them with us. Calvina, according to you, what do you think this pandemic has taught us in terms of policy making and facilities for people with disabilities?
So of course, like everybody in the world, the first question was what's going to happen. But especially because we work with students with disabilities, with visual disabilities, and like I said, lots of physical trainings involved, so that we realized that in the past 1 year at least we couldn't really do much, but there's a lot more that we could do. For instance, we are a very small center located within St. Xavier's College, and we were involved in working directly with all about 100 students with disabilities within the college. This is across disabilities, uh, as well as all the members of the XRCDC, who could be students from other colleges, who could be working members, who could be school students. And we were not able to give them everything that we used to, but in a sense we actually grew because geography no longer limited us. So as a center we could perhaps earlier do teacher trainings and direct workshops with the visually impaired or sighted participants wherever we could go. But now, because of the pandemic and everything moving online, we, for the first time in almost 20 years, went ahead and had our first workshop with international participants, from Bangladesh and places like that.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, you look at the pandemic and you definitely see a lot of things that you were limited with, but there are things where, you're really, really opening up, and now you're realizing like whatever stopped us from doing this before, because we had Zoom before, right? We had all these things before. Why didn't we think about it? Because we always are limited to what we need to do right now and what we can do right now without thinking about the possibilities. So, in a way, of course, with all the sad things that have happened, we have to also give credit to the people who realize and come up with ideas, and possibly even platforms like Microsoft Teams and Zoom and Google Meet that are allowing people to connect. But then again, like I said, the way we have opened up, a lot of places have opened up online. There are music shows and museums that have opened online, religious services for so many months when we were not allowed to go. But now, because we have so many programs and masses and things like that being held online, people who were otherwise apart and who were possibly bedridden and who couldn't go to religious places are now having access to it just like everybody else. Whether it's someone on a wheelchair who possibly couldn't go into a theater because they had steps, is now accessing all the theater plays and all the music shows that they ever wanted to go to, just because the people who organize it have moved online. So it took something like this for people to open up to people with other disabilities, because we tend to think about what we would like and people like us. Unless something hits us and, oh, we are affected, therefore we want to change the way we are doing things, then we start thinking about others. But I'm repeating what we always say at the XRCUC, it just makes more business sense. You are going to get more people to access your product and your service if you are accessible to them. So you are going to get your money. Nobody's asking you to give your product and service for free. You're going to get your money by people who can afford it, of course. But just think about it and like open up.
I agree with you. We had online facilities before, but we never majorly made the efforts to put them in use in, opening doors to various facilities and opportunities for people with disabilities. Thank you for putting this out. Um, well, now we are at the end of this great discussion. My mind is stirred with thoughts about, whatever we have been doing so far in the field of communication and what more we can do, which involves a more inclusive practice. Thank you so much, Calvina, for such useful tips and sharing your experience.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was a pleasure speaking to you. I wish all your endeavors towards special education and accessibility are successful and inspire many more.
Thank you so much. And all the best with DIVOP 91.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, that's the end of this enlightening chat with Miss Calvina De Silva. My name is Sonal Katyal, and this interview has been produced as a part of Planet Dialog 91, an international participatory webcomics project. Supported by DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance, Manchester University, NHS Foundation Trust, Wow Bagger Productions, Interfor South Africa, Royal Society of Chemistry, Science and Technology Facilities Council UK, National Institute for Health Research UK, Blastfest, Wellcome Education, and the UK Academy of Medical Sciences. A special thank you to Dr. Sarah Heather Iqbal, who has been an invaluable part of this project. And a big thank you to Dr. Sam Taraporewala, Director of the Xavier's Resource Center for the Visually Challenged, Mumbai, India, for helping me reach out to a lovely group of people for this interview series. Thanks again to Ms. Calvina De Silva for equipping us with the knowledge of accessibility. Don't forget to check out the other two discussions on accessible communication during the pandemic using the links in the description of this video. Thank you for listening. Take care and stay safe.